Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. Alright, I just want to talk a little quickly today. I want to talk quickly today about something I call slow questing. Last week, I hope you guys enjoyed the bumper crop of videos because I was on vacation last week. And so, just about every day I was able to play one or two games and set them up, read the rules, put them away. I had plenty of time on my hands to do that. And so it was a lot of fun playing lots of different games and making lots of different videos. But now I'm back to work, and so I don't have, like that 8.5 hours or so a day to where I can just do whatever the heck I want. So I'm back to playing games, and I'll more slowly and also releasing videos less frequently. But one thing I really like to do when I have to take my time is I like to keep a game set up on my table and then just come to it every couple hours or so, or once or twice a day, a few times a day, just whenever I can, take a turn and move on. And I've found over the years that a really good game to slow quest with is Roombound 2nd Edition. And right now I am playing with the Sands of Al-Khalim expansion. This is the first time I've actually played this expansion because I recently bought it. I don't love this expansion. I think it has some neat ideas. Definitely. Has these legendary quest cards, which is like the main way you win the game, and each one has like this little story with the quest that you have to do, and then you get like a legendary item, whether it be like a legendary mount or a legendary rune, or perhaps a legendary place that you can find, a legendary ally, or finally a legendary artifact. And I think there are like 5 of each. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of each. No, 5 of each because I'm actually going after a legendary mount right now. 5 of each, and to win the game, you have to be the first person to get 4 of these epic legendary quests. Of course, in a solo game, you just have to get 4. And I play like pretty easy house rules whenever I play Runebound, just because I like this game just to have like a good adventure. I don't really care about the the challenge of it. I just like to have fun, so I play with some house rules, and I'll go over those in a minute. But it's a really good game. Roombound is a really great game to just come into my room. Maybe I'm on a break from work or something, or even if you're not working, just on a Saturday you're doing yard work or something. You come in, you take a turn, and you complete the whole turn. You can complete a turn in Roombound in like 5 minutes. And it's super easy to leave and come back because there's not a lot of upkeep in this kind of game. You don't have to remember about a whole bunch of different steps, or, oh wait, I have to do this before my turn and this after my turn. I have to do this and this and this. Keep this track, because I'm not playing with like a threat track or anything. It's just super casual questing, and it's a perfect game for that. Some games you leave and you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, like what the heck was I doing? What phase am I on? Or did I do this? Have I updated this track or not? So some games are more difficult to slow quest with, to casual quest with. But I'm having quite a bit of fun, even though I'm not loving this expansion. I feel that this expansion really focuses on making the terrain difficult. And it makes sense. It's in like this desert region. So you have to worry about if you're traveling, I made these tokens, if you're traveling at night or during the day. If you're traveling at day, the desert is harsher environment, and so you're going to be fatigued a lot. But if you travel at night, the enemies have a chance to get stronger. And so I'm finding that I like to travel at night more, even though the enemies are a little stronger. Dealing with that constant threat of fatigue and having to worry about water and survival and all that kind of stuff does get a little tiresome, in my opinion. But I am enjoying the game. So let's go over a few quick house rules that I use to speed up the game. So one of the first I do is I have a faster market. So what I do is at the beginning of the game, I deal out, well, let's back up even a little bit more. Before the game even starts, I separate all of the items into, I think, 4 categories. So we have relics. So, and actually those should not be in there. Looks like some got mixed up. So we have some relics. Looks like I need to go through that deck again. And oh wait, no, what did I do? Oh, that's right. I combined relics, rings, and potions and cloaks. That's right. So this is kind of like an all-around like magical item deck. Rings, cloaks, relics, instruments, things that aren't part of the other decks. So this is one deck. Then I made a weapons deck. So this deck is full of all the weapons, regular non-rune weapons. Then we have a deck full of nothing but armor, shields and armor there. And then a deck of runes, which all the runes are already out on the board. And so then what I do is at the beginning of the game, I seed all of the markets with one face up card. And what I do is I roll a d4 and the face up card in the deck corresponds to like 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then I take 2 other cards face down and put those underneath. And these cards are based off of, so if I have 3 cards, so this one I would have rolled a 2 for my on my d4, and then I would have gone so face up, face down, face down. You know, if I would have rolled a 1, face up, face down, face down, face up, face down, face down, and so on. So that gets 3 items out onto the board in each market space. And then when I visit the town for the first time, I add 1 more. And that just gives me, you know, I can see, it allows for me to have more fun shopping. In a lot of these games, it's always fun to go to town and buy stuff. And so I just wanted to make it a little quicker. Basically all the house rules I do just make the game faster. I start with 5 gold. And let's see what else. I play with the faster rules in the original rule book. And then I also use a lot of these things on here for the quicker version. I level up in a different way. It costs me 2 XP plus each level up token I have. So my first level only costs 2 XP, the second, third, and so on. That way it's cheaper at the beginning, and then as you get more levels, it becomes more expensive. So I find that a lot more enjoyable to level up that way. Inexpensive healing. When you're in town, you can spend 1 gold to heal all wounds off of you, off of either 1 hero or 1 ally. I don't use any starting equipment. I don't use any minimum movement. Recovering treasure, if you die, instead of discarding your highest treasure, you attach it to the creature that killed you, and then you use it, you put it on one of these tracks up here, and then you can go back and kill that creature to get your treasure back. So just a few really simple rules that, in my opinion, make the game more fun for me, especially when I'm just playing solo, because, you know, it's just me. I'm just having a good time playing it. But this is a really good game to just have set up and pop in every once in a while. So if you have the opportunity to play Runebound like that, I highly recommend it. You know, maybe keep a little journal of your travels. And speaking of like a little journal of travels, another game that I'm playing slowly, slow questing through, is Fabled Lands. This interactive fiction game book. So I am starting with book 1 here. And as you can see, I have up to volume 6 now. Then this book is full of like side quests kind of thing. And then there's a 7th book that I just ordered that's coming in. So Fabled Lands. Fabled Lands is a really great game book. When I was young, like a lot of people, I played a lot of fighting fantasy. I played a lot of Lone Wolf. and then a whole bunch of like Choose Your Own Adventure and other not so well known game books. In 1996, David Morris and Jamie Thompson released the Fabled Lands series. Now, at that time, I was already out of high school, and I wasn't really, my gaming time was no longer in this kind of thing. I wasn't playing game books at all then. It's one of those things where there are certain times in your life where you feel like you've outgrown things, but then as you get older, you actually go back to them and realize you hadn't really outgrown them. It had been kind of like that time in your life when those things, you know, they weren't cool. They weren't, I don't know. I was playing other games. I think by 96 was pretty much right in the middle of my CCG phase, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and a lot of video games. But recently, I have gone back to Fabled Lands and realized just what a kind of the pinnacle of game book interactive fiction this is, and how many things are, I believe, were really started with Fabled Lands. Maybe they came earlier. I can't say for certain because I haven't read every game book, but from what I can tell, Fabled Lands really took the game book idea to the next level, and very much so Legacy of Dragon Holt from Fantasy Flight, I think, borrows a lot from Fabled Lands. And one of the things that it does is it does a lot to make the world that you're questing in feel alive. And one of the ways that does that is by making locations visitable more than once. Visitable more than once. So this town here of Yellowport, the first time you visit it, you check a little box, and then when you leave the town, and if you come back, to show the passage of time, you keep checking a box. And then once all 4 boxes are checked, you turn to a new passage, and that's going to show you something that, you know, time has passed in this city of Yellowport, and so things are progressing while you are off doing other things. Another thing that this game does, and I've never seen this in any other game book, I'm sure it's out there, I'm not saying that this is the only one, just these are the ones that this is the one I know of. So if you know of any others that do this kind of thing, I think besides Destiny Quest maybe, but you can actually buy a town. So you can buy a town in Yellowport for 200 shards. And if you have a town, you can return to the city, and you can, or if you have a house, you can return to the city, and you can actually go to your house. And this is really cool. You can go to your house and you can store your items, because you can only carry 12 items on your character at a time. And so you might have to come back to your house and put items here, and then, you know, maybe somebody broke into your house while you were gone or something, and your crap might get stolen and that kind of thing. But it's really cool, and it does a lot to convey the sense that you are really questing in a big open world. And speaking of open worlds, another thing that this game does is you don't just play one book. Every single book of numbered books, so numbers 1 through 7, I'll just pull out a couple more here, are connected geographically. And so from the map in book 1, you know, this is the map for the territory covered in book 1. If you were to go, let's say, you know, to the east, I'm not sure if this is actually right, but let's say you go to the east here, you might find a passage where you take a boat and you travel to the east off of this map, and you go actually start reading a passage in book 3. So you would turn to book 3, you would find the passage from book 1, and then you would continue your journey in this book, and this would offer a whole new land, to a whole new like geographic location to explore. From this book, you might go back into book 1 and maybe head north, and maybe north is book 2 here. So really, really neat system. And you don't have to. So you can find like a port that's going to take you to the north. You can jot that down on your character sheet, then return to that port later to go to the books that maybe you haven't purchased yet. So you can always keep track of where those new books are. And then finally, one thing that this book does that Dragonhold also does, in addition to having the little check boxes that signify the passage of time, is that on the character sheets, you get these keywords. And these keywords will trigger certain things. So, for instance, in that city of Yellowport, if you have the box assassin checked, you have to go and read a certain thing. So depending on what happens throughout your adventure, certain events, certain custom events will trigger. For instance, I was in the city of Yellowport and I went to the harbor area and I overheard two ship captains talking about some landmass. And so I learned the keyword or code word almanac. And at the start of the adventure, you get the keyword Auric. And then I'm also keeping track of my decisions on kind of like a little paper mind map here. Where I started here, I crashed my boat on a rocky shore. I could have explored a forest or explored a coast, but I met an old man and I followed him. He led me to some magical gates. There were 3 gates. And each of the gates led to a different place. One led to Wishport, one led to Marlock City, and one led to Yellowport. So right now I'm in Yellowport at paragraph 10, and I'm exploring that city. And so this book, I find that I just keep Fabled Lands, I just keep this by my desk, and throughout the day, I will pick it up and, do a little adventure, read a couple paragraphs, explore a town, do something fun in these game books. So that's it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I do miss having the time to just play games freely throughout the day and think about them and do reviews and stuff. But I also really enjoy just kind of like playing games slowly, even if it means maybe fewer videos for everyone. But yeah, if you have any games that you guys like to play slowly, casually, slow questing as it were, let me know. And also let me know what your favorite like game books are, that maybe some that aren't off, there's some that are off the beaten path. I'm sure there's a lot of them. We're kind of in a golden age right now of game books. There was another one too, and my mind completely blanked. I will do a video on it next. It's a trilogy, the Malice, I think. My mind completely blanked because it came to me and then left. So we'll touch on that later. But all right, guys, we'll talk to you later and have a good one. Bye-bye.